Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really profound philosophy for life, and it's hidden inside a simple, almost quirky rule. Okay, so let's get right into it. The rule is pretty straightforward. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Now, this isn't just some cute piece of advice. It's actually the starting point for a deep look at suffering, our own limitations, and how we can find meaning when life feels completely overwhelming. But what's really interesting is that before we even get to the cats or the heavy topic of suffering, the author starts by telling us a story about his dog, Sicko. And there's actually a really clever psychological reason for this. So first, we meet Sicko, this beloved family dog with a bunch of hilarious nicknames. The author goes out of his way to show how much he loves this dog, and he's doing it to get ahead of a common psychological bias before he even makes his main point. Okay, so this is the psychological trick. It's a phenomenon called minimal group identification. Basically, it shows that we are just hardwired to form us versus them groups, even over the silliest things like, are you a dog person or a cat person? So by starting out and saying, hey, I'm a dog person too, the author cleverly gets a huge chunk of the audience on his side before he starts talking about cats. It's a smart way to bypass our natural tribal instincts. All right, so now that he's got all the dog lovers on his side, we pivot from that lighthearted story to the real heart of the matter, the profound and often unbearable reality of suffering that this whole rule is designed to help us with. These are the words of the author's daughter, Michaela, when she was just a toddler. And by all accounts, she was just a sunny, happy, easygoing kid. The very picture of pure innocence. But that happy childhood was just shattered. A sudden and brutal chronic illness came out of nowhere. I mean, look at this timeline. It starts with her just complaining about sore feet, and it ends with this catastrophic diagnosis, severe arthritis in 37 of her joints. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's a question that hits you right in the gut, whether you're religious or not. How can a world that has so much joy also contain this kind of random, devastating suffering? I mean, her childhood just became this relentless grind of painful procedures, heavy-duty medications, and just one piece of devastating news after another. The life she was supposed to have was just gone, replaced by a constant fight against her own body. So when you're faced with something that horrible, how do you even begin to find meaning? Well, the author offers a really surprising perspective. He says the answer isn't in trying to get rid of suffering, but in actually understanding why our limitations are necessary. So he poses this thought experiment, and it's a really good one. He talks about his son, Julian, a cute, lovable, and incredibly fragile little kid. And he asks, if you had the power to make your child completely invulnerable, would you do it? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer is pretty complex. And what he realized was, if you take away that fragility, if you turn him into this, 20-foot-tall titanium robot, you also take away everything that makes him human, everything that makes him lovable. His vulnerability and his humanity, they're completely tied together. You can't have one without the other. This idea pops up in old stories too. Imagine some all-powerful, all-knowing being. What does a being like that lack? Well, the answer is limitation. Without limits, there's no challenge, there's no growth, there's no story. In a way, without boundaries, there's no real being at all. And you can actually see this exact same idea in pop culture, which is pretty cool. Just look at Superman. Back in the day, he could leap tall buildings. Awesome. But over the years, he got more and more powerful until he could move planets and was basically invulnerable. And you know what happened? He got boring. It just goes to show, a superhero who can do anything, well, it turns out they're no hero at all. There's no tension, no risk. That's why the writers had to bring in things like kryptonite. They had to give him limitations again to make his story interesting. Meaning requires boundaries. Okay, so if we're on board with the idea that limitation is actually necessary for life to have meaning, what do we do with the suffering that comes with it? How do we cope? The suggestion here is to make a shift, away from just trying to think our way out of the problem. Here's the argument. When you're really in the thick of it, when you're overwhelmed, just thinking about it can dig you into an even deeper hole. It can become a vicious cycle. The alternative isn't to think harder. It's to change gears completely and simply start noticing. It's a way to ground yourself in the here and now. And the first step is to notice this really fundamental truth. When you love someone,
You don't love them despite their limitations, you love them because of them. Their quirks, their vulnerabilities, their imperfections, that's the stuff that makes them uniquely, beautifully them.
And believe it or not, that is where the cat comes in. Think about it. A cat on the street is its own being. It doesn't have to like you. So when it chooses to stop and let you pet it, that's a small, spontaneous moment of grace. Taking a second to pet that cat is a conscious act of noticing a tiny wonder. It is the definition of appreciating the little things. And in that tiny moment, that 15 seconds of connection, you get this powerful little reminder. A reminder that maybe, just maybe, the wonder of being is enough to make the suffering that comes with it bearable. It doesn't fix everything, but it helps. So we're back to the beginning. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. It's not just a cute suggestion anymore, is it? It's a real, practical strategy. It's a conscious choice to stay open to the small wonders that can ground us and give us a little bit of light, even in the darkest times. So that's really the big idea here. When we're faced with all the big struggles in life, one of the most powerful things we can do is just pay attention to the little things. So I'll leave you with this question. What small wonder will you choose to notice today?